urges folks to dine outdoors if possible. With two exceptions, Georgia has seen more than 1,000 new COVID-19 cases diagnosed each day so far this month. Yesterday, the number approached 19. Atlanta airport officials say they're seeing about 35 to 40% fewer holiday travelers than this time last year. Steve Mayers is the head of the customer experience at the airport and says with fewer travelers, city and hypertension, and more than 8 months into the pandemic, plus a contentious election, a lot of folks are experiencing long-term stress.
I can't think of a time when there have been this level, this severity, this number of stressors that everybody in the United States are experiencing all at the same time.
Still ahead this half hour, the effects of the pandemic on mental health and some suggestions on ways to cope as we head into the holidays and the winter that's ahead. We check in with our coronavirus podcast, Did You Wash Your Hands? Hosted by guest host Molly Samuel this week. 22 immigrant women detained at Georgia's privately operated Runway County Detention Center have now come forward with similar stories of medical abuse. Many say they were forced to undergo procedures at the hands of a local gynecologist, Dr. Mahendra Amin. Amin has repeatedly denied wrongdoing. Several other women who spoke out were quickly deported, but just today, U.S. attorneys in the Southern District of Georgia agreed to halt further deportation proceedings. Vice News reporter Emily Green is covering this ongoing story, and she tells me this halt is only temporary.
The women could still be deported down the line, but at least until January 21st, the women will not be deported. And that date is significant, that they believe they got medical procedures, gynecological medical procedures, that they neither understood and that they did not consent to. They are speaking out at great personal risk to themselves.
You write that the women who have been deported and those that face imminent deportation, that their lawyers say it's an effort to silence them. And I'm curious how effective have you found that threat is?
As more women have spoken up and as this story has gained media traction, we're seeing more women come forward. But of course, still many of these women are scared, and some of the court filings, the majority of the women are identified as victims. And so a handful of the women who allege medical abuse are using their full names. Most of them still aren't.
You mentioned that ICE says we're just following the law in who they deport. Is there any reason to believe that there is something unlawful going on in how they choose who's deported and when?
The women firmly believe that they're being retaliated against. I talked to one woman yesterday who is in Mexico. She spent almost her entire life in the United States. And it was her allegations that formed the basis of the whistleblower complaint. The day that the whistleblower complaint came out, she was slated for deportation. And she says this is no coincidence. You know, she was at Irwin County Detention Center for months. And that is where many of the women and their lawyers are saying there's foul play here.
In the article, too, you reference a September 26th congressional visit, and Representative Hank Johnson and I spoke both before that visit and immediately after. And he talked about the deplorable conditions that he saw while he was there. And you write that these were actually, much better than they had been in the past because, there was a cleanup effort. Talk more about what you understand the conditions to be at Irwin County Detention Center.
The women really portray something akin to a horror film at the detention center. They talk about mold-infested cells. They say guards beat up a detained woman and then dragged her from the room naked, that there was